There's a lot of thirst in the scriptures today. A lot of longing, seeking. The people of Israel in the time of the Exodus, journey in the desert, are literally thirsty for water. And they are even more spiritually thirsty when the reading concludes with their asking the question, is God with us or not? Is God with us or not? That's a deep thirst to know, is God accompanying us on this journey? They're kind of forgetting it wasn't just Moses that took them out of Egypt, it was God. And yet now in the midst of hunger and thirst, you can understand they're beginning to waver and wonder, so what is God's plan for us? What's going on? Kind of a helpless feeling. And Paul in the letter to the Romans says helpless is the state of all of us. He said, while we were still helpless, Christ saved us. While we were still in that state of helplessness, Christ is the one who has saved us, died for us while we were still sinners. And then we come to the gospel. Jesus is a thirsty man. It's noon, it's desert, and he has nothing to drink. And so he asks this woman, can you give me a drink? Out of his own thirst, Jesus, in a sense, reveals his own vulnerability, crossing some dangerous boundaries of talking alone to a woman, a Samaritan woman at that. And she points that out to him. How can you be asking me, a woman and a Samaritan, for water? Because he needs water. He needs a drink. And as she points out, we don't even have a bucket to get the water. I envision at some point in this dialogue, while Jesus is talking or while she's responding, I imagine her letting that bucket down into the well and bringing it up. And with that cup, Jesus delighting in that drink of water. I imagine a look of delight in his eyes as he looks into her eyes, water dripping down his beard, and continuing this conversation of helping her to see her own thirstiness. He knew a woman alone at noon coming to the well was a stranger to many. Jesus knew that women in the village would come to the well in the morning when it's not hot, or come in the evening after the sun has gone down. And the women would come together. It was kind of a communal experience. You can imagine what they talked about every morning. They probably talked about her. They were talking about her on some of those days. It's a small village. She's already been with 5 husbands. Every one of those women has got to be a little protective of her man. She's alone. She's excluded from the community. She's coming there at noon in the heat of the day when no one else would see her. Except Jesus sees her. And Jesus can see in me, in you, in her, the real person, the true person, beneath all the wrong choices. Jesus sees that. And sometimes having someone see our wrong choices is frightening and maybe even shameful. But in her circumstance, he's told me everything I've ever done. It's freeing. It's a freeing experience to know that God can look beyond our bad choices. God can look beyond our searching in wrong places, trying to drink from wells that are less than satisfying. And he's offering us a drink from himself, from his well of grace. And she takes it, and she drinks it. She drinks it in, and so do many others of the village who come to know him. I do know that Jesus still offers us that life-giving grace while we are still helpless, while we're still floundering around, while we're still looking in all the wrong places sometimes for what we think is going to be good or fulfilling or satisfying and coming up empty time after time. Eventually, we learn that we need to drink from the well that is Jesus Christ. And there we find satisfaction. When his disciples come back on the scene, returning from McDonald's with hamburgers and fries, he says, they're like, what's he doing? Why is he talking to her? And then he says, I have had food to eat. Now they're wondering, who brought him food? But his food, what Jesus feeds on, what fills him up, is when he sees one of us, when he sees us accepting the grace. Jesus was filled with satisfaction that this woman was willing to drink of the grace. And that's what Jesus feeds on. He might have eaten the hamburger later, but, he was really filled and satisfied because someone had taken the grace. Someone was willing to make that conversion, that change in their life, and seek what's really true. In the end of it all, he says, it's not Jerusalem, it's not Mount Gerizim, it's not Rome, it's not Mecca. There's no one place on the earth, there's no one religion in the earth. What we have to do is worship God in spirit and truth. And that's what he's inviting us to draw from the well that is Jesus himself. Drink there as often as you can. Put aside the other abstractions and distractions where you might be drinking the wrong stuff. And strive throughout the season of Lent and throughout our lives to find our nourishment, to have our souls quenched by his grace. I know enough about that experience in my own life, my own wrong choices, going down some wrong paths, and I've certainly heard enough as a priest in the confessional of people with their wrong choices. But I've seen and I've experienced for myself what that grace can do. So we open ourselves again this morning to the grace of God, the mercy of God, the gift that God offers each and every one of us.